Okay guys, let's get this straight. This is episode 2. Episode 1 will not be coming out for another few months. Why I decided to make episode 2? Well, the Gorgetown loop was first. I'm really stupid at sometimes. But anyway, enjoy the video.
Fear set me, or
I'll
put you in a tunnel and you'll die.
Rude. Yeah, really offensive. We have a bar thing. Anyway, this is the Gorgetown loop. Yeah, it's that time of year again when I'm making new documentaries. And today's train will be carried by Gorgetown loop 1111. 111. We're starting it. It was like built in like the 1930s for the Mexican Railroad, and now it runs here after a failed railroad failed notifications. And you can see the crew at work. I'm gonna leave you guys here until something happens. I don't know. Well, it's lagging. Fine. And just a little bit of history about the Gorgetown. Like, I might say it later in the video. Like, some parts of the line in like the 30s got scrapped. Right. After being abandoned for a few decades, the highway wanted to go directly through where this railroad was. And the people that we call Colorado Historic Society didn't like that idea.
It really has a nice Santa Fe chime.
That's not your job.
Oh, you said you got the Piler cars.
And they did after a few days, months, I don't know how long. They were the build truck from Silver Plain, only back down to there. Here's my mom. Sorry I had to do that. Quite an idiot. And then here's the train. We're gonna go down to the last car. Here it is. It's an older car, I think I found out, or looks like it. And somewhere in the video, the camera goes upside down. Also, I want to mention that the locomotive has a Santa Fe 4 chime. Just like, wow.
Parking is only permitted in the parking areas at each end of the line.
Dang it. Why does this
We do ask that if you are sitting in a car with people often ask if we are backing up to get a run up the hill. The answer is no. We do this for 2 reasons. Mainly so that you will have a chance to view the high bridge from underneath, and so that you may have a complete ride over the loop today. Before beginning the uphill ride, we will back under the bridge.
Eventually. Why am I always saying Larry? This is like the 5th time I said it today. We're gonna have a flip black.
The new bridge, built 100 years later in the summers of 1933 and 1934 of modern heavy-duty steel at a cost of $1 million.
She tells me it's never
This
mind.
new bridge is 5 times as strong as the old bridge, which is a good thing because the old-timers would say that it would noticeably sway when the trains crossed over.
Reasons why.
Now, I guarantee that this bridge will not
I'm actually in my
sway
room and,
as much.
I have to
I know if it did, I would not be riding over it today.
Some of them are broken.
From the track to the bridge is a rise of 75 feet. Now, when we get up there and we look down, it may look like more, but it will still only be 75 feet. Here in a moment, your train crew will be passing through to collect your tickets and punch them, so we do ask that you have those ready and available. Here momentarily, we will be getting our uphill non-stop ride to Silver Plume. For the uphill ride, we will be turning off the PA system so that you may enjoy the natural sounds of Clear Creek Valley.
Oh, I should have done this before. There's a nice whistle, and also you can barely hear me. Sorry. Bye.
We hope everyone enjoys their ride on our steam engine number 111 today.
Of course, as soon as I want to say something, He always gets interrupted.
And for those
And at this moment,
wonderful
I
mothers,
decided to do some
grandmothers,
really
great-grandmothers,
crappy.
you
Decided to
we'd like to
just
wish
flip
you
the whole
a very
camera
happy
around.
Mother's Day.
or something like that.
flip your screen upside down so you can watch the video clearly. If you didn't, well, you're screwed. You can see the 25, 15 hole thing, whatever. Finally, I'm able to flip my camera back around. Now some heat cars, all genuine racing cars mostly. See the pump engine, see mine, mostly real green except for that one and that one. Those are the only other two that are not really original, I don't know. the line was still operational. There is a football or ground, circular thing that you have to hang down to play the baseball. And also the one down the jokes, but I'm not a railroader, so technically I'm just rail fan. Come up to the siding where they have a few things, especially a boiler of 44. It's a locomotive that was a 40 system. Coal car, wedge plow, 44. I'll explain it later. But then a tarp thing, another thing, and then the cart, and then a extra box cart, and a cart. The 44 boiler in the background, it used to be operational, but the Colorado Ranger won't give them their parts back. So Colorado Ranger, if you're listening to this, get 44 parts back, or else bad things will happen.
Just as the train did over 140 years ago. just west of the depot. If you do get off the train, we ask that you stay on the platform side of the train as the steam engine will be moving on the other side of the train for the return trip. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next departure time will be at 1:40, so we do ask that you make it back on the train a little bit before then. We do ask everyone in our parlor cars that if you do have any alcoholic beverages, to please keep those on board.
Up is number 12, originally a not Mexican, a Hawaii locomotive right here. It's getting restored, as you can see its wheels on this. It probably went to Strasbourg. And then we have a random blue diesel in the car in the background. Number 40, old videos of it. It's getting restored for some reason, but the boiler is out. And then another diesel, a car, inside of there. I don't know. And then the two more famous diesels over here. And I'll be back in a few minutes.
Well, during this pause, we're gonna talk about what the history is. So, Editor Jack, cue the music.
Okay. So basically, the Gorgetown Loop was built in like the 1800s. They were trying to go down to Leadville, and then they just got stuck there, and they had a secondary route. And the footage in the background, we have some old footage. Quite cool. The bridge that was got rebuilt in like the 80s, 70s, and since the line was abandoned in the 30s, come on, they didn't even go as far as the Coombe Bridge and Toltec. That'll be a precursor to next episode. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes. Anyway, that's all for me. See ya. Choo choo.
Again, museum, but it's closed. There's a Plymouth and there's a few cars that are being restored. There's a layout back there. And you can see some information. You can see the parlor car. A few other things, 40. Yeah. See everything. Over here we have the billboard. Here you can see the model trains. I have that car right there. Gift shop view.
Right, they got the rocks.
Nothing really interesting. Excuse me, coming through.
Yes,
And we have everything, but it's mostly the same because the gift shop is basically the same. Nice dog you got there. Thank you.
Did you want to come?
Excuse me. 11:11.
Whoops.
Someone forgot the. What is this thing? All the way back down to the last car. And we're back. Down there is the end of the line. Editor Jack, you add some notes to what goes on there?
That line went
Wait, you
up to
actually
a
did?
peak that
I'm
the
an idiot.
narrator will be talking about earlier. And
After this,
we
I
walked
need a
down that
drink.
trail once, but we didn't get far because there was so much snow and
All the equipment.
other reasons.
Right there. Get the train starts moving. Okay. These will be added to bloopers or something like that. Man, I mean, quite bummed that the museum is closed. But yeah, the way down. This is not your day. It's Mom's day. As I was saying, with the bloopers, and I just really appreciate that I'm doing this first. This is actually the second episode we're gonna do today, because the first episode will be the Colorado Road Museum. Yeah, we're doing that today. If the music keeps up. Yeah, let's just to ignore that. I just want to thank you for all the time that you have on YouTube. In the next few weeks, in the next few months, we're gonna have a band concert and sing the end of middle school for me, and then I'll be going to high school at this. Done out that gal away.
And with those whistles, we are off. So again, please find a seat or something obvious with a diesel engine. The answer is quite simple. The valley is so narrow here, we can't turn the train around. In fact, we can't even turn around the engine. So for the downhill portion, we place the engine on the rear end of the train, the east end, to pull us downhill, and at the bottom, we bring the engine around to the front lane, the west end, for the uphill ride. The railroad you're riding today is a reconstructed portion of the old Gorgetown, Breckenridge, and Leadville Railroad, the GB&L. The first mountain railroad in this area was the Colorado Central Railroad that began construction. Was formed to build a connection that would come up through the town of Silver Plume, tunnel beneath Continental Divide at Loveland Pass, and then drop down into the rich mining towns of Breckenridge and Leadville. After building only 5 miles west of Silver Plume to Graymont, now known as Bakerville, the parent company of the GB&L acquired another line that reached Breckenridge and Leadville from a different direction. Now on the left side of the train now, you can see Clear Creek tumbling down to the Georgetown Valley. That's very cold water because it's coming directly from snowmelt up on the Continental Divide, just a few miles west of here in Loveland Basin. One of Colorado's fine ski areas is located. Clear Creek gave our county its name, and Georgetown is the county seat. Clear Creek works its way out of the mountains near Golden and eventually meets the Platte River down in Denver. Then the Platte joins the Missouri. From the Missouri to the Mississippi, which carries these waters to the Gulf of Mexico. As we pass through our forested areas of the line, you may wonder about the trees that grow here. We are located in the transition between the subalpine and upper montane life zones. Though only a stub-in branch line from Denver, this railroad was very profitable in the early days, bringing miners, their families, and supplies to the mountain communities and taking the rich gold and silver ore back to the Golden and Denver mills to be processed. This continued until 1893, when the Sherman Silver Purchase Act was repealed. And thus, the price of silver dropped so low, mining for it was no longer profitable. At that time, tourism was taking over as the main source of revenue for the railroad. As the fame of the Gorgetown Loop Railroad spread throughout the country and even the world, thousands of people came to ride on what was considered a scenic and engineering marvel of the 19th century. It was very fashionable to hop aboard the train in the morning in Denver, ride up over the loop, have a picnic lunch in Silver Plume, and be back in Denver for supper. Between 1905 and 1918, many tourists continued their ride aboard the Argentine Central Railroad, which offered an additional ride from Silver Plume on 7% grades to the mining town of Waldorf and onto the tip of Mount McClellan at an elevation of 13,500 feet. Shade-geared locomotives pulled on the very short-lived rail line, often called the Stairway to the Stars. The heavy tourism continued on into the early 1900s with as many as 7 trains a day, bringing people up here to Silver Plume. However, by the 1920s, automobiles were taking over, and soon most people preferred that mode of transportation. Passenger business dwindled, and in 1927, the railroad discontinued passenger service. The railroad continued to run a couple of freight trains a week for several more years. But by the late 1930s, even that business was so poor they filed for abandonment of the railroad. Between 1939 and 1941, the rails and bridges from Silver Plume east were taken up and sold for scrap. This included the entire line down through Idaho Springs, as well as the Central City branch. In 1951, the U.S. Highway 6 tunnel route was completed through Clear Creek Canyon, following a good portion of the railroad grade. In the early 1960s, the Highway Department began planning the interstate highway, which would be built up right in the middle of this valley. This would have destroyed our railroad grade and the mining history it contains. And the Colorado Historical Society felt this history should be preserved. They were successful in getting the Highway Department to locate the interstate of the side of the Republican Mountain, where you see it today, to save the old railroad grade. So, the Historical Society began to rebuild the railroad, starting in Silver Plume in 1973. Narrow gauge railroad equipment, already owned by Lindsay and Rosa Ashby and Dave Rotkin, were available and operating on their Central City line. With the expertise of narrow gauge train operations and equipment, a new era was about to begin on the loop. They were successful in getting the U.S. Navy Seabees to offer their services in rebuilding the grade and track. The Union Pacific donated 3 miles of 70-pound rail. From an abandoned line, and the Ashbys obtained a 60-foot pin truss bridge from a line near Fort Collins to span Clear Creek near the Lebanon mine. That warning whistle you just heard is for the curve called the high fill. This is one of the most scenic portions of our line. As soon as you clear the trees to the right side, you can look down at the valley and see the high bridge with a view of Georgetown beyond that. To the left of the train is a good shot of our steam engine number 111. Now the bowl-shaped area to the left of the train is called the ballpark. In the early days, there were no trees in the valley, as they had all been cut down for the building of cabins, mine structures, and for use of firewood. The folks of the mountain communities built themselves a baseball diamond and picnic area here, and often spent the weekends enjoying picnics and ball games. Perhaps they were the original Colorado Rockies baseball team, but I'm not sure how they would compare to today's Colorado Rockies. You see, they were playing the minor league. Our railroad, like the original GBNL, is narrow gauge. That is, the rails are only 3 feet apart, 36 inches. Most railroads in our country use standard gauge, where the rails are 4 feet and 8.5 inches apart. That odd figure is often attributed to the distance between the wheels of Roman chariots. being based off the width of 2 horses pulling that vehicle. Narrow gauge was far more practical for mountain railroading because the smaller cars are able to negotiate sharper curves, like the ones we just came around. Smaller cars are also lighter, which means less work for the engines to handle on these steep grades. We are now on the steepest portion of the line. This is a descending 4% grade, which means for every 100 feet, we drop 4 feet in elevation. As a reference, 3 of our cars equal about 100 feet. The narrow track also meant the roadbed could be narrower, which was very important when building through terrain such as this field of giant boulders we are passing through. In the 1880s, there was no machinery to move these rocks in order to build track. They had to hand drill these rocks and pack them with black powder and blast them into pieces small enough to be moved by hand or horse team. It was difficult and dangerous work, but that's how all the early Colorado mountain railroads were built. And in a moment, we will cross Clear Creek, the little stream you saw as we left Silver Plume. If you look out the left side of the train, you will see how rapidly the stream is dropping as it cascades its way towards the Gorgetown Valley. There is a nice waterfall to photograph here. As we continue around this curve, we will be entering a cut in the mountainside. As we pass through the cut, notice the rock retaining walls on either side. These walls were built in the 1880s without the use of mortar by the Cornish and Welsh miners. The method is known as dry stoning or dry stacking. These walls have been standing for well over 100 years and is a real testimonial to those workmen, having required very little maintenance over time. The retaining bolts you see in the walls were added about 19 years ago to ensure their stability. As we continue around the curve, we will be arriving at History Colorado's Lebanon and Everett Silver Mine Tour stop. For those of you who purchased the optional mine tour, this is where you get off to begin your guided tour. As soon as the train has come to a complete stop, as indicated by a single whistle from the engine, please...
Narrator.
For those of you who have not taken the mine tour, if you'd like to look out the left side of the train and notice the folks who just have gathered down the trail. The 2 mines are connected to this tunnel about 1,200 feet back in the mountain. In the heyday of the mining era, the Upper Clear Creek Valley produced about $200 million worth of silver, and that was in the 19th century dollars. That would equate to about $5.6 billion today. All this silver production earned Gorgetown nickname as the Silver Queen of the Rockies. Gorgetown was named for George Griffith, one of the early miners who settled in the valley in the little town of Silver Plume. All right, folks, please find a seat or something to hold on to as we are departing east towards the Devil's Gate.
Seriously, Mom.
See you later.
People often ask which mines produce gold and which silver. If you look up on the mountainsides, you can see the mine tailings from many of the old tunnels. Up here near Silver Plume and Gorgetown, most mines produce silver, and the tailings are gray in color due to lead and galena in the ore. As you get closer to Idaho Springs, most mine dumps are yellow or orange in color, indicating gold mines. Gold is usually associated with iron, which gives the rock a rusty color.
So it's also technically an iron mine. What make iron?
Iron
The train is now entering a clearing at the site of Hall Tunnel. The Hall actually started out to be a transportation tunnel through Leavenworth Mountain so that the ore from the mines on the south side of the mountain could be brought here and loaded on the train. However, they had the worst of luck. As they dug through the mountain, they encountered several rich silver veins, causing them to lose interest in continuing the tunnel and proceed to mine the silver instead. In the clearing next to the mountain, you will see a large rusty machine and building foundation. The machine is part of an Ingersoll Rand air compressor that powered the jackhammers used to dig the tunnel, and the foundation is what remains of the boiler house that served this mine site.
Maybe they could try to do more mine operations. And now it gets boring again.
The engine is entering a curve from which you can see the lower track of the loop from the downhill side of the train. We will be on those tracks in a few minutes. For those not familiar with the story of the loop, it was the surveyor's answer to the problem of getting the railroad from Gorgetown to Silver Plume. You see, the two towns are only 2 miles apart, but differ in elevation by over 600 feet. If the track had been laid straight up the floor of the valley, the grade would have exceeded 6%. Far too steep for a normal railroad operation. To get away from this, the surveyors laid out a route that doubled back and looped over from this. This allowed the average grade on the line to be held to 3.5%, although it increased the distance between the two towns to 4.5 miles by rail. At that time the loop was built, there were only 4 or 5 locations in the world where railroads used a loop as a means of gaining elevation. In all cases but ours, the point where the upper track crossed the lower was in a tunnel where it could not be seen. But in our case, everything was out in the open, with the upper track crossing the lower on a spectacular curved iron bridge, the one we had went under earlier. The early residents of the area had called the narrow mouth of this canyon the Devil's Gate, so it was natural for the high bridge to be named the Devil's Gate Viaduct.
I just go to Silver Plume, the train's like halfway, and I just go.
Must be a scavenger hunt.
Everyone would be pissing their pants.
That whistle signal, that warning whistle means we are about to go out on the Devil's Gate High Bridge. Since the bridge spans the mouth of the canyon, it can get quite breezy out here. We suggest you snug down your hats and your sunglasses, or be prepared to grab them. For your trivia file, as we cross the bridge, it is 300 feet long, the same as an American football field, and has an 18.5-degree curve on it. The bridge may look level to you, but it is built on a slight grade of just more than 1%, which means the end we start from is 6 feet higher than the opposite end. For those of you afraid of heights, find a pebble in your car, pick it up, Rub it in between your fingers and you just might feel a little bolder.
Ha ha ha. Wish I had a boulder to.
If you don't mind looking straight down, Clear Creek is 100 feet below you and the lower track of the loop 75 feet below. Off to the left, you will see a stone monument which was placed by the Colorado Historical Society in 1949 to commemorate the original Georgetown Loop Railroad and the High Bridge. The monument is placed next to the old US Highway 6, the predecessor to I-70. Our motive of power is the steam engine 111.
History, please.
Now the cars you are riding in today were originally narrow gauge freight cars and converted to passenger service. Some in our silver plume shops. Some of these cars originally hauled freight in the old Denver Rio Grande Western narrow gauge lines of southwestern Colorado.
At this point, someone in the cab locomotive noticed something on that car. Last car. Wait a minute, I just saw something.
Colorado to Chalma, New Mexico.
Also, by the way, there's your precursor. Is a quick, cool shot.
To your right of the train is the view of Georgetown.
I just did that for a
Sean!
Get in.
Some of you might wonder how a train prepares for the Olympics. Well, let's just say they train hard.
What? What's that?
What's going on? Look. What's going on? They had to get out.
What?
Look, they had to get out. Something's going on.
So you're taking a picture of the beautiful scenery. I know.
Well, there's something going on there. Checking it out.
It's so beautiful. Where are the... Oh, great.
The first coach. Something's happening.
This is what happens when you mess with.
Now, there are trains that just can't keep a secret. And I'll let you know, those
That's
are the
what I meant.
whistleblowers.
I didn't hear that joke. Can you say that again?
You want me to say it? There are some trains that can't keep secrets. They're called whistleblowers.
I can't. My voice is still not clear, so I can't make my. You can't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wonder if they had a hot box. Mystery Jack, can you tell me what a hot box is? Boom, so. Maybe that's a good idea. Sit down.
Hey, you should have watched this. This could have went completely.
Luckily, I put it right there so this wouldn't fall. Now you can see the train over here. Right past your car. You're ruining the video. Sorry.
Hey, look, there's our car. Yeah, the summer ones because, for one, they use diesels on the Christmas trains. And
I feel like we saw the lights this year. Did we go up before
I think, no, we didn't see it at all. Or else I might have took a video of it.
I'm gonna look at pictures because I felt like we did look at the lights this year.
I don't think we did. Nice Santa Fe 6 chime. Santa Fe 6 chime, that's what it is.
He's here. Looks like you have something. There's something. It's just right here at the bottom.
Throw this out.
The whistle you just heard a moment ago was a National Standard Railroad crossing signal. Here we cross the old wagon road to the Lebanon Silver Mine, now driven by our mine tour guides. As we enter the curve, we will be crossing Clear Creek for the fourth and final time. At this point, we have come a little over a mile as the crow flies from the Silver Plume Depot. But we have used up almost 3 miles of track to get here. When we arrive at the Devil's Gate boarding area, we have dropped 450 feet of elevation from Silver Plume. And that warning whistle means we are approaching the Devil's Gate boarding area, the eastern end of the line. For those of you who boarded here, we would like to tremendously thank you for riding with us today and hope you will come back and ride with us again. The Georgetown Loop Railroad and Colorado State Patrol urge all of you to drive safely as you continue your Colorado travels. Please be sure to have all your personal belongings before departing the train, such as your handbags, purses, sunglasses, hats, and your children. If you are not familiar with old downtown Georgetown, you will find an abundant and well-preserved examples of Victorian-era buildings and mining structures. Today, Georgetown is a delightful Victorian village that offers quaint shops, fine restaurants, historical museums, and even a couple of old-fashioned ice cream parlors. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated or find something to hold on to as we prepare for our stop.
Did she say coin shop?
Oh no.
She didn't.
She said the coin shop downtown.
I don't think she did.
And just a reminder to our passengers in those parlor cars, if you did order alcoholic beverages, please do not take them off the train or guzzle them down now. And again, we would like to wish all of our mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers, including those aunts, a very spectacular Mother's Day.
Well, done our duty to go home and sleep well.
Oh, also I found the prop locomotive.
Get out of here. Anyway, as we were driving out, forgot to add this. We have a Colorado Sufferer number 60 over here. Dad's being annoying in the background, and it was placed here, and I think it's getting restored back to operation, I believe. I'm not sure. And here's one final bonus train video. The electric line. It used to be another cool line that no longer exists. Partly. Close the camera correctly, you idiot. Hopefully I don't get copy striked. Well, as I said earlier, that's the end of the video. It's also Monday, and I'm printing some new train stuff for my store. Wait, a store? You say? Well, you gotta figure that eventually, or I might say in the next video. Anyway, see you guys. Bye-bye. Now get out of here, Jack.